Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Chelsea Seaburn. So I have both a bachelor's and a master's degree, and I got them both online. Going to college online saved me so much time and money, and it gave me the freedom to travel, work, and live while I got my degrees. So this is a topic that I'm really passionate about. Matter of fact, over the years, I've had quite a few people ask me what it was like to go to school online. So today, that's what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to break this video down by first talking about some of the common misconceptions of online schooling, and then I'm going to talk about what are, in my opinion, some of the most important things to consider before biting the bullet and jumping into an online program. Lastly, I'm going to share why online schooling was the best option for me. I understand that everyone's situation and motivation for this is different, but if by sharing my why it sparks something in you, I'm happy to do it. If you're here because you're considering online schooling, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this every week. If you do subscribe, don't forget to hit the little bell notification so you get notified every time I upload a new video. But all right, let's get started. Let's get to misconception number 1. Online schooling is easier. All right, so I think a lot of people get this misconception because in just about any campus program, there's always 1 or 2 online classes that you have to take. And those are typically your easier classes, something general ed like history or health education. And so yes, those classes in general are easy. But when it comes to a full online program, no, it's not easier than going to a campus college, because when you go to online schooling, you now have to become your own teacher. Yes, there are professors, and depending on the amount of interaction you get, a lot of the learning now is in your court. When you're sitting in a physical class, you have that professor there to tell you when to pay attention or what to study. When you're in an online course, you don't have that anymore. Again, you have to become your own teacher, so the learning is fully up to you. Which brings me to misconception number 2, that you don't learn as much in your online courses. And I'm here to say that no, that's not true, because again, when you're teaching yourself, you're also learning more. I found that I learned 10 times more in my online classes than I ever did sitting in a class, because it was solely up to me to learn the information. Online courses are very black and white, meaning that you have a certain grade you need to pass, you have certain assignments and tests, and if you don't get that grade on those assignments or those tests, you just don't pass. In a physical class, there's more gray area. There's ways for you to get extra credit, or if you're not doing well on an assignment, you can talk to your teacher and they can work with you on it. Online courses generally don't have as many of those opportunities. It was up to me to make sure that I learned enough of the material and did good enough on my writing assignments that I made it to the passing marks. So yes, when it's up to you to make sure you meet your marks and it's not so reliant on a professor, you absolutely learn just as much, if not more. Misconception number 3, online courses are not accredited, meaning that they do not translate to an employer later, or you're unable to transfer those credits to another program if you choose to do so. When it comes to this, my best advice is to do your research. There are campus colleges that are not accredited. There are online programs that are also not accredited. But this is a simple matter of going online, looking at the university you're going to, and Googling the program. You can see on all of their websites if they are accredited. It'll be fairly simple to find out if the program you're interested in is not accredited, because that'll be online. And then moving on to the misconception of online programs aren't recognized by employers later, and I'm here to say that yes, they are. Online programs are gaining more and more popularity as the time goes on, and again, as long as you go to an accredited university, your degree will be recognized later on. Matter of fact, on most resumes, most employers aren't going to know if you got your degree online or at a campus college. And let's say your future employer does ask you, hey, did you get your degree online? One thing I want to point out is that an online program is a huge sign of self-motivation, self-discipline. It shows that you know how to self-learn, and it shows that you have excellent time management skills. These are all highly sought after skills in any job candidate. The last misconception I want to talk about is that you have to be good at technology in order to go to school online. You do not have to be good with technology or tech savvy by any means to get an online degree. I did most of my bachelor's program from an old, cheap Chromebook where I just used Google Docs and Google Drive, and I used the web browser for my online program. It doesn't require much skill in that department. I think the most tech savvy thing I ever did in my online program was when I took my finals, because finals are proctored, meaning that you're on a webcam and someone is watching you take your test. But even in that case, I had the person proctoring my final walk me through the proctoring process every time I took a final. But now that we got the misconceptions out of the way, let's go ahead and move into some of the things you should consider before enrolling in an online program. And the first one I want to talk about is your learning style. Obviously, going to school online requires a different learning style than doing it in a classroom. This doesn't mean your learning style can't translate from the classroom into an online program. It's just important to be aware of how you learn so you can equip yourself in the best way possible. For example, if you're an auditory learner, meaning you like listening to an instructor and listening to lectures, that's all right. You can still go to online schooling. There are a lot of lectures available, a lot of topics you can go find and search on YouTube, and also a lot of ebooks offer auditory services, meaning that you can listen to your textbooks out loud. If you're a visual learner, this means that a lot of your concepts you'll have to look online for, again, on somewhere like YouTube or the Khan Academy, somewhere where there's videos that will give you tutorials on the different things you're learning. I find that most people are a combination of different learning styles, so it's best to just be aware of what yours are so you can translate it into your online program. The second consideration I want to talk about are time management skills. So if you're a student in any program, online or campus college, time management is very important. But I would say it's even more important when you're going to school online. Even if you have deadlines on certain projects, you're gonna be open to a lot more distractions. You have that freedom over your schedule, which for some, that's great, but I'd argue that no matter what, it takes practice to put the right systems and routines in place. Procrastination is very easy when you don't have a class to go to and a teacher telling you that you need to complete assignments and telling you when and where and how to learn. I like to think of building time management skills the same way you would strengthen and build a muscle. In the beginning, your time management skills probably aren't going to be the strongest. But if you work on it consistently and you add in little bits and trial and error and figure out what works best for you, your time management is going to build and get stronger until you find an effective routine that works for you. If you want to hear more on this topic, I'm linking a description to a video down below. It's called Effective Tips for Getting a Bachelor's Degree Online. I dive into more specifically about how I built my time management skills in that video. The third thing you should consider is professor interaction. Now, every online program is different. Some you get a lot of professor interaction and some you don't get much. I chose a self-paced program, and in that self-paced program, we got very little professor interaction. Now, I was all right with that, but for some people, that might not be the best option. So my suggestion here, research your school ahead of time so you're not blindsided by the lack of professor interaction. And that brings me into the fourth consideration, and that's student interaction. Some people thrive by going to a campus class because they require that student interaction. You will definitely have less interaction with other students if you choose to go to an online program. Now, there is still peer-to-peer learning because it's still central to the college experience, even online. For example, some programs have discussion forums or they'll still schedule group projects. Some assignments are peer-to-peer reviewed, meaning that another student might review your answer on a writing prompt. There are usually plenty of opportunities to interact with other students, but it's important to understand that you're not going to have near as much of the interaction that you would have in school. Again, with my program, there really wasn't any interacting with other students. This was all right for me, but if socializing is something you value about getting a college education, please know that in an online program, it's not going to be as strong. Moving on to my next consideration, and that is paper writing. Knowing how to write an effective college paper is important no matter what degree you get, but it becomes even more important when you go to school online because most of your projects and a lot of your grade is going to be based off of writing papers. Now, don't let that scare you away. I know that paper writing, especially for school, is intimidating for a lot of people, but I'll say this. As soon as I learned how to write an effective college paper, I was able to plow through my degree because so much of my degree was based off of written assignments. If you'd like a video about how I structured all of my papers, it didn't matter if I was writing about finance or marketing, I used the same system and they always marked really high. If that's something you're interested in, drop that in the comment section below and I'll make that for you. The last consideration that I want to bring up here is that you're gonna have to say no to something else. Now let me explain. So when you go to a physical campus, like a brick and mortar college, you have to say no to something. For a lot of people, you have to say no to your time, meaning that you no longer have the freedom over your time to work or travel because you have to show up to your classes. When you go to school online, it's important to understand that you're gonna have to give up something in return. Also, online schooling is wonderful because it does give you the freedom of how you spend your time, but it doesn't necessarily give you the full freedom of your time back. So when you gain that full freedom as to how you're spending your time, you're gonna have to learn how to say no to certain things in order for you to succeed in your online classes. So for me, I was working full time and I was going to school. And in the beginning, I was also trying to coach kickboxing classes on top of it. Now I thought I could make this work because I had freedom over my entire schedule, but it turns out the one thing out of those three that fell to the bottom was my schooling. It wasn't until I said no to the coaching that I was able to fully focus on my studies. But once I did learn to say no and I found that right balance and I prioritized my schooling, I was able to complete my 4-year bachelor's degree program in 3 years. Having to say no to something because you're in an online program isn't necessarily a bad thing because like I already said, you're gonna have to give up something no matter what program you choose, whether it be a physical school or an online program. When it comes down to it, saying no to things in your normal schedule is not that bad because it allowed me to say yes to things like traveling or working full time. All right, now in this last section, I want to discuss why online schooling was the best choice for me. I encourage you to think about this in terms of you and your situation, because this will definitely range person to person. But all right, so first and foremost, online schooling was the best choice for me because I've always had the worker's mentality. I started working when I was 16 years old. There was no way I was going to give up work to go get a degree if I could find a way to do them both. And that's exactly what I did. I chose a self-paced online program because it gave me the most freedom over my college experience. When all was said and done, I got my 4-year bachelor's degree and my 2-year master's degree. 6 years, I was holding a 7, 6 years of college in 3.5 years. The reason this worked for me is because I'm an entrepreneur, tried and true at heart, meaning I excel when I'm working for myself. Luckily, I found this out early on in schooling. When I had a teacher teaching for me, I learned far less than if I were teaching myself. Online schooling absolutely requires self-dedication, self-determination, and motivation, and these are all things I value. But now, if you currently don't have those, please know that's not a deal breaker, because when we have something in our lives that we really want, we'll find it in ourselves to become the person in order to achieve it. Meaning, let's say right now, you're not really self-motivated. If getting a degree is something you really want, you'll find the motivation and you'll build the skills necessary to do it. When I started my programs, it took me some time and trial and error to put the right systems in place. But once I did, again, I was able to graduate fast, but I was also able to do it debt-free, which is another big reason why I chose online schooling. Online schooling in general is a fraction of the cost of going to a physical campus because the tuition costs less. You don't have to pay expenses for things like traveling or room and board or on physical items like books. Now, I know online schooling can be very intimidating for a lot of people. It was intimidating for me, but just like anything new you try or anything new you learn, it's all about putting in the time and effort and learning the right skills and getting in those right systems. I'm going to keep saying systems because systems were the most important part of my online college experience. It's what allowed me to go through it so effectively and so fast. If you have any questions on anything I mentioned in here, please let me know in the comment section below because I could go into more detail on each of these different topics. This was just a general brush over that can help you decide if online schooling is right for you. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like, share it with your friend, and of course, subscribe for more videos like this every week. Thank you.